Jack Carter sat quietly in the long hallway of the Allied Fleet Academy. He was the only human in the room. Round him, tall alien cadets whispered and laughed. Some looked like reptiles with sharp eyes. Others had smooth blue skin and glowing hair. Jack felt small. He looked down at his worn boots and tried to ignore the stares. He had trained hard to get here. Earth was a new member of the Galactic Alliance. Most of the other worlds saw humans as weak and simple. But Jack had a strong heart. He believed he could prove himself. A bell rang, and the training officer walked in. His name was Commander Raoul, a tall creature with silver skin and red armor. He shouted for silence. Everyone stood up straight. "Today," Raoul said, "you will begin joint flight training. You will work in teams." The names were called one by one. Jack waited. Finally, Raoul said, "Cadet Carter, you will fly with Ace Lyra of the Royal Guard." The room became quiet. All eyes turned to a tall woman with golden armor. She had green eyes that burned like fire. She walked forward, her boots making sharp sounds on the metal floor. "A human," she said with a smirk. "You cannot be serious." Jack tried to stay calm. "I'm ready to learn." Lyra rolled her eyes. "Try not to slow me down." They stepped into the flight chamber. It was a big room with chairs and controls. The ceiling showed stars and ships. The training mission was a simple patrol. But as they flew, things changed. A fake enemy ship appeared out of nowhere. It came fast and aimed right at Lyra's ship. She froze for a moment. Jack moved fast. He sent his small ship in front of hers, blocking the shot. The impact shook his ship, but he stayed steady. When the training ended, everyone was talking. Some laughed. Some looked surprised. Lyra looked angry. She walked up to Jack. "You saved me by accident. That does not mean you are good." "I just did what felt right," Jack said. "Then prove it," she said. "Duel me, one-on-one." Jack paused. He was not ready for this, but something in her voice made him agree. "Fine," he said. "Let's duel." The next day, the duel was set. It would be a flight battle in orbit around a gas giant. Hundreds of cadets and officers came to watch. Lyra flew a sharp, fast ship. Jack had a simple human model. As the match started, Lyra attacked fast. Her moves were perfect, strong, and clean. Jack dodged, twisted, and turned. He didn't try to match her strength. Instead, he used tricks and sudden moves. He let her chase him, then turned and shot from behind. The crowd gasped. He scored a hit. Lyra was not used to this kind of flying. She got angry and pushed harder. Jack stayed calm. He kept moving, confusing her. Then, with a final move, Jack spun his ship and locked onto her tail. A clean strike. The duel ended. Jack had won. Silence, then cheers and shouting. The human had beaten the top ace of the Royal Guard. Lyra stood in her ship, her face unreadable. She walked over to Jack. "You fought well," she said slowly. "And now, because of tradition, I must honor the bond." Jack looked confused. "What bond?" Commander Raoul stepped forward. In Xarin culture, when a royal guard loses to an outsider in a challenge, a bond is formed. If accepted, it becomes a path to unity. Jack blinked. "What kind of unity?" "Marriage," Lyra said in a cold voice. Everyone gasped. Jack opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out. "Do you accept the bond?" Raoul asked. Jack had no idea what to say. He nodded without thinking. Lyra's eyes widened. "Then it is done." The crowd went wild. Cameras flashed. The news spread across the stars. Jack Carter, the human nobody, had just become the Royal Guard's top ace, and nothing would ever be the same again. The sky above the gas giant was still full of light and noise. Ships flew by, lights blinked, and people cheered. But Jack Carter did not feel like a winner. He had just beaten Lyra Vorn, the top pilot of the Royal Guard. And now, because of some strange alien rule, he was her. He stood on the metal deck, still wearing his flight suit. His hands were shaking a little. Lyra stood beside him, her arms crossed. She was silent, but her eyes were sharp and full of fire. "You should have said no," she said without looking at him. "I didn't know what it meant," Jack replied. "Then you're a fool," she said. Jack turned to her. "I just wanted to show I wasn't weak. That's all." Lyra looked at him for a moment. "Well, you've done it. But now you're stuck with me." Commander Raoul came toward them. The The bond has been accepted. Preparations will begin. We will go to the capital. What preparations? Jack asked. The engagement ceremony, Rawl said. It must be done within 3 cycles. Jack rubbed his forehead. Everything was moving too fast. One day he was just a cadet. The next he was tied to one of the most powerful warriors in the galaxy. The next morning, Jack boarded a transport ship with Lyra and 2 guards. The ship flew fast through space, heading to the Zareen homeworld. Jack looked out the window and saw stars racing by. He felt like he was falling deeper into a strange dream. They landed on a world covered in glowing towers and wide stone roads. The air was thick and warm. The people looked strong and proud. As Jack stepped out, many stared at him. Some laughed, some whispered. Why are they looking at me like that? Jack asked. You are human, Lyra said. To them, you are a joke. Look down, and I'll prove them wrong too. He was taken to a large hall made of silver and glass. Inside, he was given strange clothes to wear, a long coat, a belt with metal shapes, and tall black boots. Everything felt heavy. The ceremony began that night. Lights filled the hall. Music played. Important people came and watched. Lyra walked beside Jack, her face like stone. Jack tried to smile, but no one smiled back. A Zareen elder spoke in a deep voice, said many words Jack did not understand. Then he turned to Jack. You have entered the bond through victory. You accept the unity of honor and fate? Jack took a breath. Yes, the elder turned to Lyra. She paused. Then she said yes. The crowd gave a short cheer. Then the music started again. But Lyra turned away and left the hall. Jack followed. Outside, under the stars, she looked at him. I do not love you, she said. I do not even like you. Jack nodded. I didn't ask for any of this. Then why did you say yes? Jack looked up at the stars. Because maybe this is a chance. A chance for humans to be more than what they think we are. Maybe a chance for you to see who I really am. Lyra didn't answer. She walked away, her boots clicking on the stone. Over the next days, Jack trained with the Zareen pilots. Most ignored him. Some tested him in the sky. He flew with speed and strange tricks. Some began to respect him. He also saw Lyra in meetings, on the training field, and at meals. They barely spoke. But one night, as Jack fixed his small ship alone, she came over. You fly like no one I've ever seen, she said. Is that good or bad? Jack asked. It's different, she replied. They stood in silence for a moment. Then a siren rang through the base. Red lights flashed. A voice shouted from the speakers. Unknown enemy ships at the outer edge. All pilots report. Jack and Lyra looked at each other. Looks like we're flying again, Jack said. Lyra nodded. This time, don't get shot. Jack smiled. Only if you promise the same. They ran to their ships. The bond may have started by mistake, but now it was growing in a way neither of them could understand. And the galaxy was about to test them once again. The sky was dark with the glow of enemy fire. Ships moved fast, like sparks across the night. Jack Carter flew close beside Lyra Vorn as alarms rang across the base. This was not training, this was real. The enemy ships were strange and fast. Their designs were sharp, and they moved like shadows. The pilots from the Zareen Empire flew with power, but even they had trouble keeping up. Jack flew low, weaving between rocks and towers, keeping his eyes on the radar. On your right, Lyra said through the cum. Jack turned just in time to see a flash of red. He pulled up, fired, and the enemy ship broke apart. He took a deep breath. Thanks, he said. Don't thank me yet, Lyra said. There are more. They flew for hours. The battle was hard. Some Zareen ships were lost. But Jack's strange flying and fast thinking helped hold the line. When the enemy pulled back, the skies were quiet again. Back at the base, Jack stepped out of his ship. His face was dirty and his hands were shaking, but he was still standing. Lyra landed beside him. You did well, she said. Jack smiled. So did you? She looked at him. Maybe you were not just lucky. The next morning, Jack was taken to a large hall. Leaders from the Alliance and the Zareen Empire were there. They'd seen the battle reports. Jack was asked to speak. He stood before them, nervous but calm. The enemy flies different, Jack said. They don't follow the same rules. We can't just fight them with power. We need new ways. We need to use what humans know, fast moves, smart tricks, and teamwork. Some of the leaders nodded. Others looked unsure. Then one of them stood. What do you suggest, human? Let me train a team, Jack said. I'll mix humans and Zarian pilots. We'll fight with a new style. We'll win. There was silence. Then Lyra stood. Let him try, she said. Jack turned to her, surprised. He may be right, she added. The enemy fights in ways we have never seen. He thinks differently. That may be what we need. The leaders agreed. Jack was given a group of pilots, some human, some Zarian. At first, they did not work well together. The Zarian were strong but proud. The humans were clever but slow to trust. Jack trained them hard, showed them how to move fast, how to trick the enemy, and how to trust each other. He worked day and night. Lyra came to help. She did not smile, but she gave good advice. The team started to change. One day, during training, the team faced a test. Fake enemy ships attacked. At first, things went wrong. But then the team began to move as one. They flew like a single shape, fast and sharp. They won the test. The team cheered. Jack stood with Lyra, watching. Did this, she said. We did this, Jack replied. That night, Jack sat on the roof of the barracks, looking at the stars. Lyra joined him. When I first saw you, she said, I thought you were weak. I thought you were cold, Jack said. She looked at him. Now I see something else. They sat in silence for a while. Then she said, this bond, I did not choose it. But maybe it was not a mistake. Jack turned to her. Maybe it was fate. She stood and offered her hand. Jack took it. Down below, the pilots laughed and talked. The sound of hope filled the air. The next battle was coming, but Jack and Lyra were ready. They were no longer just two people from different worlds. They were a team. And together, they were stronger than ever. The enemy came again, and this time they were stronger. Their ships moved faster, and their weapons were more powerful. The commanders of the Alliance were worried. Many said the war could not be won. Jack Carter stood in the middle of the command room, looked at the map in front of him. It showed enemy ships entering new systems. The red lights spread like fire. Lyra Vorn stood beside him. Her face was hard, but her voice was calm. They will hit the mining worlds next. Without those, we lose power. Jack nodded. Then we stopped them there. He was now the leader of the special flight team. They had trained hard, had faced small attacks. But this time, it was different. This would be the real test. The team gathered in the hangar. Jack stood before them. We don't have big ships or heavy guns, Jack said. But we have something better. We fight smart. We fight together. We win. The team cheered. Lyra watched from the side, her arms crossed, but her eyes showed pride. They flew out in fast ships. They stayed low, close to the rings of the mining planet. The enemy ships came in waves. Sky turned red with blasts and smoke. Jack gave fast orders. Pull left, drop flares, break formation, and reform behind. The team moved like wind. The enemy was confused. They were not ready for this kind of fight. Lyra flew with sharp moves. She shot down 3 ships in a row. Jack flew beside her, covering her side. Nice flying, he said. Try to keep up, she replied. They smiled, even in the middle of battle. After many hours, the enemy pulled back. The sky was quiet again. Jack and his team had stopped them. Back at base, the leaders watched the reports. They saw the maps. They saw the results. The humans and Zarian had fought side by side and won. A meeting was called. The leaders from many worlds joined. Jack and Lyra were asked to speak. Jack stood in front of them. The enemy is strong, he said, but we can win. Not with bigger weapons, not with fear, but with new ideas and with trust between us. One of the leaders asked, why should we trust humans? Lyra stepped forward. Because they have earned it, she said. I doubted Jack at first. I did not respect him, but he has shown courage, skill, and honor. He risked his life for people he did not know. He saved me, saved many. The room was quiet. Then a few nodded. Then more. The leaders agreed to give Jack's team more support, or pilots would be trained in the new style. Later that night, Jack sat alone in the garden of the base. He looked up at the stars. His body was tired, but his mind was full. Lyra came and sat beside him. "You spoke well today," she said. "Thanks," Jack said. "I still feel like I don't belong." "You belong more than many here," she said. They sat in silence. Then she spoke again. "Do you remember our duel?" "How could I forget?" Jack replied. "I was proud. I thought no one could beat me. Then you came with strange moves and wild ideas. I was angry, but now I see it was not luck. You fight with heart." Jack looked at her. "So what now? Do we keep fighting forever?" Lyra shook her head. "We fight to make peace, but peace must be earned. Earn it by standing together." She turned to him, and about the bond. "I no longer see it as a mistake." Jack smiled. "Neither do I." She reached out and took his hand. It was not part of duty. It was not part of war. It was something real. Far above, the stars watched in silence. The war was not over, but hope was stronger than fear. And for Jack and Lyra, a new path was just beginning. Jack Carter stood in front of the screen looking at the map. The enemy had moved again. This time, they were deep inside friendly space. A large ship, bigger than anything seen before, had appeared. It was not attacking yet, it just floated near a quiet system. But everyone knew it was not there for peace. "That ship is a command core," Lyra said. "If we destroy it, we break their chain." "Then we go in," Jack said. "But we go quiet. No big fight. We sneak in and take it from the inside." It was a risky plan. The ship was full of enemy machines, strong and smart, but Jack believed it was the only way. The team was picked. Jack, Lyra, and 6 others. They trained in silence. They studied the maps and the ship's weak points. They learned the guard paths and the system codes. On the night of the mission, the team flew in small ships. They stayed low, hiding in the shadow of a moon. Then they moved fast, reaching the enemy ship and locking onto its hull. They broke in through a lower door. Inside, the ship was dark and cold. The halls were wide, the walls full of strange lights. "Stay close," Jack said. "No sounds, no mistakes." They moved slowly through the halls. Sometimes, they had to hide behind walls as enemy machines walked by. The machines had long arms and glowing red eyes. One of the team members, a human named Leo, almost made a sound when he slipped, but Lyra caught him before he fell. Her grip was strong, her eyes sharp. "Careful," she said. "This place is death." They reached the control room after 2 hours. It was big and round. A giant core sat in the middle, glowing blue. That was their target. "Place the charges," Jack said. They moved fast. But just as they finished, an alarm rang out. Machine had seen them. "Run," Jack shouted. The team ran back through the halls. Machines chased them, shooting red lights. One of the team members, a Zareen pilot, was hit and fell. Lyra stopped. "We go back for him." "We can't," Jack said. "God, if we stop, we all die." Lyra looked torn, but then she nodded. They kept running. They reached the exit. The ship shook as the charges blew. They jumped into their small ships and flew away. Behind them, the enemy ship broke apart in a silent blast. Blue light filled the sky. Back at base, the news spread fast. The enemy ship was gone. The command was broken. The enemy lines were weak now. But the joy did not last long. Jack had been hurt during the escape. A piece of metal had cut deep into his side. He was taken to the med bay. Lyra sat beside his bed. Her armor was dusty. Her face was hard, but her eyes were full of worry. "You saved us," she said. "We saved each other," Jack said, trying to smile. She took his hand. "I was wrong about many things," she said. "About you. About humans. You were brave. More than I ever knew." Jack looked at her. "You're not so bad either," she laughed. A short sound, but real. The team came to visit. They brought news. The leaders had called Jack and Lyra heroes. Their team was now the model for new training. As Jack rested, Lyra stayed close. She spoke less and listened more. They shared meals, small stories, and quiet moments. One night, as stars filled the sky, Lyra stood beside Jack's bed. "You were right about one thing," she said. "What's that?" he asked. "This bond. It was fate." Jack reached for her hand. The war was not over, more battles would come. But in that quiet room, with With the hum of machines around them, something stronger than war had begun to grow. It was not duty, it was not honor, it was trust, and it was real. The days passed and Jack Carter healed slowly. The pain in his side was strong, but he did not complain. Each day, Lyra came to see him. She did not speak much, but her presence said enough. She brought food, helped him walk, and even sat with him in silence. One evening, the sun was low, and the sky outside turned red and gold. Jack sat by the window, watching the ships fly by. Lyra came in, holding something in her hand. "You're walking better," she said. A little Jack replied, "Still feel like I got hit by a star?" She smiled. Then she held out a small silver box.
"Dad, what's this?"
Jack asked. "Open it," she said. Jack opened the box slowly. Inside was a thin silver ring with a simple red stone. "This is from my family," Lyra said. "It is given only in a true bond, one that is chosen, not forced." Jack looked up at her. "Are you saying yes?" she said. "I choose you now, not because I have to, but because I want to." Jack felt his chest tighten. He stood even with the pain and took her hand. "Then I choose you too." They stood there for a moment, the ring between them. The war had brought them together. But now, they were more than soldiers, more than allies. They were something stronger. The next day, the leaders of the Alliance called a meeting. Jack and Lyra were invited. They stood in front of the council as the news was shared. The enemy forces had pulled back again. The last mission had broken their center. "We now have a chance for peace," one leader said, "but we must act as one." Lyra spoke. "Unity is not just words, it must be shown. Humans and Zareen must walk together, fight together, live together." Jack stepped forward. "Let us lead that path, not as warriors only, but as something more." The room was quiet. Then slowly the council members nodded. One by one, they stood and agreed. A new plan began. Jack and Lyra would not just be symbols. They would lead a mission to unite the fleets, train mixed teams, and guide peace talks. That night, under the stars, Lyra and Jack walked through the gardens. "Do you think it will work?" Jack asked. "I don't know," Lyra said, "but we must try." Jack stopped and turned to her. "Das." She raised an eyebrow. "What is it?" He took her hand. "Will you marry me, truly, not because of any bond or rule, but because we choose each other?" Lyra looked at him for a long time. Then she smiled. "Yes, I will." A few weeks later, plans for the ceremony began. It would not be like a normal wedding. It would be held in space, between two worlds. On a large ship that flew high above the stars, people from many species were invited. Humans, Zareen, and others who had once doubted each other now came to celebrate. The ship was decorated with lights. Music played from both Earth and Zareen culture. Jack wore a dark suit with small gold marks. Lyra wore silver armor with a soft blue cape. They stood before the gathered guests, hand in hand. "We started as enemies," Lyra said. "Then we became partners. Now we stand as equals, joined not by duty, but by choice." Jack nodded. "We are different, but together we are strong. Strong enough to change the stars." The crowd cheered. Lights flashed as the moment was shared across the galaxy. After the ceremony, Jack and Lyra looked out the window of the ship. Below, they saw Earth and the Zareen homeworld. Two planets, once far apart, now connected. "This is just the start," Lyra said. "Yes," Jack replied, "but it's a good one." As they stood together, the stars above seemed to shine brighter. The war had not ended yet, but something better had begun. Peace was possible, and Jack and Lyra were ready to fight for it side by side. The stars above the wedding ship were calm, but deep in the galaxy, danger was growing again. The enemy had lost many battles, but they were not finished. Their forces had pulled back, but now reports came from the edge of known space. Strange signals, lost ships, silence from far-off bases. Jack Carter and Lyra Vorn knew what it meant. The enemy was planning something big. Jack stood in the command room of the new Unity fleet. It was made of ships from many worlds, humans, Zareen, and others. They trained together, They flew together. Jack and Lyra led them. They want us to think they are weak, Jack said. But they are waiting for us to relax. Lyra looked at the map. The signals were clear. They're building something, she said. Something strong. We need to find it before they use it. The council gave them permission. Jack and Lyra led a scout team to the edge of space. The mission was dangerous. No backup. Just their team. They flew through dark space. Days passed. Then they found it. A large station, bigger than any ship, floating near a dead star. It was covered in black metal. No lights. No signs of life. This is it, Jack said. This is where the final move will begin. He sent a drone inside. The images came back. Rows of machines, weapons, ships being built, and in the center, a giant core, glowing red. That's the power source, Lyra said. If we destroy it, the station will fall. Jack called for backup, but the enemy saw the drone. Lights turned on, guns moved. Ships launched. They found us, Jack said. We have to fight now. The team pulled back fast. Enemy ships chased them. Jack and Lyra gave orders, guiding the team through the rocks and dust of space. Then the Unity fleet arrived. Hundreds of ships came from all sides. The battle began. Lights flashed. Explosions shook the sky. Jack flew through fire, his ship moving fast. Lyra covered him, her shots clear and strong. Focus on the core, Jack said. If we break it, the rest will follow. The team moved in. Enemy machines tried to block them. One by one, Unity ships were hit, but they kept moving. Jack reached the core. He fired everything. Missiles, beams, everything he had. Lyra joined him. The core began to crack. Light spilled out. Now, Jack shouted, all ships pull back. They flew away fast. Behind them, the core exploded. The station broke apart. Waves of fire and light spread through space. Cheers filled the radios. The enemy was beaten. Back at the base, the news spread. The final battle had been won. The enemy force had no leader now, no base. Peace talks began. The council called Jack and Lyra to speak. They stood before the leaders of many worlds. We did not win because we were strong, Jack said. We won because we stood together, Lyra added. We come from different places, but we share the same sky. Together, we are more than we ever were alone, the council agreed. A new alliance was formed, one that welcomed all, one that protected peace. A year passed. Jack and Lyra walked through a school for young pilots. Children from many worlds trained there now. Some looked human, some Zareen, some from far-off stars. They will fly better than us one day, Jack said. That is the goal, Lyra replied. Boy ran up to them. Are you the ones who stopped the Great War? He asked. Jack smiled. We helped, but many others stood with us. Lyra leaned down. One day you will stand with others too. That is how peace stays strong. The boy nodded and ran back. Jack and Lyra walked on. They had come from different worlds. It started as enemies. But through battle, trust, and choice, they had changed the galaxy. Now, under the same sky, peace had a chance. And their story, told in every corner of space, was just the beginning.